please send them the link so that they can also come in and we can all learn together, all right? Okay, let's get started. All right. Again, good evening. I just got a request for the passcode. Yeah. Okay. So let me put in the passcode and let's go. Okay, good evening, everyone. And yes, today we're going to talk about dementia. I'm not sure if this is your topic of interest. You are here today because you want to learn something, or please send them the link so that they can also something of your concern that you would like to learn more. Okay, so let's me start with my slides and then we can talk from there. Right. So today's talk is really a learning session for all of us to learn together. And this is by no means, or for myself at least, I'm by no means the expert for dementia because we are not trained. But this is just solely from the report from Lancet 2024 Commission. So every few years, the Lancet will actually republish different reports. And this is the latest that I read, and I find it really, really interesting. So, I thought we could go through these factors, we could share with you, and we could all learn together. So basically, this is on how to lower dementia risk. Okay, and myself, I'm Jeannie with a diploma in diet nutrition. I find that I really have got interest in diet, nutrition, and learning more over the past over 10 years. And of course, during COVID time, I took up a certification in personal trainer and yoga teacher as well. So together with the team in LiCo, we would like to provide a holistic approach to health and fitness so that we can all learn together and embrace a healthier lifestyle. So let's look at dementia first. What is dementia? So I just got a question 2 days ago. This client was asking me, Jeannie, what's dementia? What's the difference between dementia and Alzheimer? Right? Because we heard of Alzheimer disease, which is AD, right? And we also heard of dementia. So what is the difference actually? So just to make things very clear, dementia is an umbrella term used to describe a range of symptoms associated with cognitive impairment, meaning any cognitive deterioration or impairment is under the umbrella called dementia. And under dementia, there are different types. For example, as you can see here, Alzheimer disease, which accounts for 50 to 75% of dementia. So sometimes the term is actually used interchangeably. Of course, there's also vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia, and frontotemporal dementia. These are just the different types of dementia. Basically, it means that there are changes in the brain condition which cause physical changes which might affect our memory, our mood, even our behavior. And there might even be changes to our not just vision and hearing, but also thinking. So if you have known of any elderly or anyone in the family or friends who has dementia, you might observe various different things. It could be behavioral, it could be thinking, in terms of the words. So these are some of the symptoms of warning signs of dementia. So first of all, of course, is memory loss. We know that dementia is linked to losing of memory, both long-term and short-term, but more short-term memory. Meaning, what do you have for breakfast yesterday? So I was talking to a client this morning and she told me, I forgot what I had for lunch yesterday. I need to ask my helper. Okay, so something like this. So this could be a warning sign of dementia. But of course, forgetfulness is also normal because, we are always very busy and multitasking many things. So difficulty performing familiar tasks that you've been doing day in, day out. but somehow you find it, you know, or the person is not able to perform properly. Problems with language, certain times, certain words, just can't utter out the words. It's something like, it's at your tongue already, but you just not able to utter out the words, the exact words. Okay, disorientation to time and place, not sure where the person is and not sure what's the time now. Poor or decreased judgment might be affected. Problems keeping track of things. Okay, misplacing things. Some of the very common symptoms like, forgetting the keys, not sure where's the credit cards, looking for the spectacles, etc. Changes in mood and behaviors, challenges understanding visuals, informations, and withdrawal from work or social activity. So if you see someone near you consistently showing this sign, it might be a warning sign. It might worth going for a test, right? To understand the situation, just to rule out um, whatever it is, just to understand what's happening and what causes this. So dementia is the umbrella term that covers the conditions that affect our memory, affect our perception. For example, I've got example would be the elderly suddenly very suspicious of people, wanting to cheat her, for example, right? Perceptions different. Or even family members, she also suspect that, hey, she stole my thing, could she wanting to poison me, want to steal my stuff, etc. So perception might have changed, and the reasoning might not be as logical as before. The attention and concentration span is definitely shorter, right? Sometimes not able to think very clearly is something like a brain fog. You just feel that you're in a fog, not able to find a road out, or a way to working through problems or issues with judgment, and challenging with language as well, not able to articulate or speak very well. So these are some of the things that dementia is affecting us. All right. So having said that, how is the dementia seen in Singapore? Okay, in Singapore, Alzheimer's disease is the most common form of dementia. It's 70% in Singapore. And for people above 60 years old, the average number for dementia is about 1 in 11. It's about 9%. 1 in 11 people has dementia. But if the age goes up to 90 years old, you are looking at 1 in 3. So age is definitely a factor that affects dementia. Okay, make sense? That's one of the biggest risk factor for dementia, of course, which is not controllable. We can't change our age, right? Okay, and the thing is that the proportion of people who are diagnosed with dementia but do not receive treatment for it is about 51%. Means in Singapore, there are a lot of people who diagnosed with dementia. It could be from Brown Center. There are a lot of organizations that provide free tests to test on dementia, but many of them actually didn't do anything about it. Okay, and individuals aged 75 to 84 or above 85 has got a much higher likelihood of developing dementia. We have already mentioned that. Retirement and homemakers also are more likely to have dementia compared to those who were employed. Wow, okay. So if you're employed now, you say, phew, okay, good that I'm not retired and I'm not a homemaker. Is it because of employment or is it because something else? So let's discuss that. An individual with history of stroke or depression were more likely to have dementia. So we know that stroke and depression both affect our brain as well. So has that caused, one of the risk factor for dementia? So we can discuss this as well. All right. And how about Malaysia? This is Malaysia numbers. I know some of our participants, our friends here are from Malaysia. So Malaysia, we are looking at 1 in 10 suffer from dementia. Okay, and marital status, somehow single or separated ones has got a higher probability compared to married, and more women than men. I think we know that for dementia, Malaysia, Singapore, all over, we have more women than men suffering from this condition. It's just I don't know why. Okay, if you know why, please share in the chat so that we can all learn together. But this is the observation. Okay, and poor social support is also a challenge in Malaysia because many are not diagnosed, not to mention not getting treated. Okay, so early diagnose, taking care of or keeping a lookout of the people around us, I think is important so that we can notice in advance, can notice early, we can get it treated. Okay, so, but can dementia be cured? No, as at today, there's currently no known cure for most type of dementia. Right? We can't reverse it from having these issues to back to normal. While some causes are reversible, but most of them are not. Medications are only used to manage the symptoms and stabilize the cognitive function, meaning it's still better to be diagnosed and to be treated because medications and treatment can help to stabilize the condition. And of course, lifestyle changes can also slow down the progression. I think that's even more important. If we don't know, then we won't be doing anything about it, isn't it? So today in this webinar, in this discussion, we're not going to talk about the non-controllable factors. There are non-controllable factors for dementia. We know, for example, gender, for example, age, for example, family history, right? But these are not something that we can control. So let's focus on the things that we can control. And we are really learning from the Lancet. Okay, the Lancet is one of the world most oldest and most respectable peer review medical journal. So it's a very reputable journal, and every few years they will publish the commissions. And this was published last year. It talks about dementia prevention, intervention, and care. All right, and the last one that they published on this subject was 2020, about 4 years ago. And this time they added two more factors, two more controllable factors. That's why today we want to learn about all these factors and let's put it into practice as well. Okay, so this is from the Lancet. So new evidence suggests that reducing the risk of dementia can actually help to increase the number of healthy years. I think that's very important. Yes, we want to live long and we know that our life is getting longer and longer, but we want to have more healthy years rather than just number of years, right? And the preventive approach also decrease many other risk factor. Okay, and addressing the risk factor at the early stage is desirable. What this paper is saying is that it is never too early or too late to reduce dementia risk. So regardless of whether you are here, there are 20 plus people here, whether you are just in your 20s, in your 30s, even in your 60s and 70s, hi Ellie. Yes, it's still not too late to address dementia risk. All right, so let's go. Okay, so I'll go through all the 14 factors and then we can discuss. Number one for early life is less education. So what it's saying is that for people with reduced education, meaning they even have the basic 12 years of education, it reduces the cognitive reserve, making the brain volume lesser and is less vulnerable to changes and to challenges. So brain volume or cognitive reserve, we can look at it as the storage or a bank storage, for example, or mental savings. So when we have enough, when we study and when we stimulate our brain enough, it would give us enough savings. And later, if there are any challenges, for example, we are hit by, for example, stress, sedentary lifestyle, etc., this brain reserve can help to preserve the health of our brain, and it accounts for 5%. So if you still have kids, younger kids, what you can do is that you make sure that they have good education, right? higher education. But if we are already over the formal education years, it's never too late. There is still lifelong learning. Even though you think that going back to school to learn something, going to the classroom is too much, you can still do mental stimulating work or hobbies, social engagement, even learn a new language, learn a new music instrument. All this can help to activate our brains. Okay, it increase our mental savings and it will reduce the risk of dementia by up to 5%. 5% is a very big number. Later, let's look at the other factors. Okay, so this is keep learning, lifelong learning. Okay, sounds good. Then we look at the second one. This is even bigger, 7%, hearing loss. Untreated hearing loss. Why? Because untreated hearing loss is pretty common and it seems that the onset is getting younger as well. Once upon a time, it was because of occupational hazard. People working in the factory, working in a very noisy place, they would have their hearing loss, slowly losing their hearing. But nowadays, young people, because we use a lot of headphones as well, that might cause hearing loss as well. So it's okay to have hearing loss, and we know that as we age, we tend to have our hearing tend to deteriorate as well, but it needs to be treated, right? Because research has shown that untreated hearing loss will lead to social isolation. Why? Because if you go out with your friends, even family members, if you can't hear them properly, one, you might misunderstand the meaning, you might misheard the words, you might cause misunderstanding, or you keep having to ask, huh? Say that again. What do you mean? Having to clarify. After a while, some people will just give up and just do their own things. It might cause social isolation, right? So people with untreated hearing loss are less likely to participate in social activities, social activities, and mixing with people compared to people who wear hearing aids. So if you're above 50 years old, if you suspect that you might have some hearing issues, do a test. It's very easy to just go and do a hearing test, right? And if there's any issues with the hearing, do treat it, meaning you can use a hearing aid to help you with that hearings. That accounts for 7% of dementia risk, which is very high. Okay, and then the third one, of course, is we need to protect our brain as well, right? Learning, education, build up the brain reserve, but we also want to protect it so that it's not hurt. So traumatic brain injury, which is injury of the brain, can trigger long-term brain damage and also is a risk factor for dementia. So be it fall, vehicle accident, violence, assault, or sports injury. For example, certain sports are more prone to injury. For example, football, etc. Bicycle, you want to really protect your head especially, right? And we know that for a lot of elderly, the most common cause of trauma brain injury is actually sudden fall. It accounts for 56%. Okay, so it's got to be very careful to make sure that you don't climb up, for example, to do things at a very high, like climb up the ladders and all that when you're at home alone, or get the younger people to help you to make sure that you have safety measures, in place when you need to do all this stuff, right? And sometimes in a hospital, you also see the elderly that they have the tag that is fall risk, right? Fall risk means really we want to be very careful to avoid that fall. And how to make sure that we have strong core to avoid fall is really to do regular workout and training to have stronger core and better balance. Okay, so brain injury. The next one is high blood pressure. High blood pressure accounts for 20%. And for high blood pressure, we mean that systolic readings more than 130. Okay, it will strain the the blood vessel. It will affect the function of the brain over time, right? This is how it is. When the pressure is high, it will be pressing against the artery wall. Okay, and these boxes are actually the extract from the Lancet that I want to share with you. So number one, it says that blood pressure first increase, then start to decrease 5 years before dementia diagnosis. And weight also will decrease around 10 years before diagnosis. So if you have family members who blood pressure used to be high, but suddenly drop down without any intervention, or the weight also, keep coming down without intervention, might call for a check. Might just want to check out, do a health check and see whether it's affected by the brain or not. And people with hypertension, if they were to take antihypertensive drugs, it will lower the risk of dementia. Right? So it doesn't mean, I know many of us, here will say that try not to take medication if you can, especially long-term medication. But the numbers actually show that okay, if the person already has hypertension, it is better, it's more protective for the brain to take the antihypertensive medication rather than just leave it untreated. Okay, make sense? All right. Okay, so high blood pressure actually causes a lot of issues like stroke, vision decline, heart disease, etc., etc. But we now know that it can account for 2% of dementia risk as well. So managing blood pressure has got an additional meaning, right? To preserve our brain as well. And number five, excessive alcohol. Okay, so chronic heavy drinking can strain the brain volume. So we say that learning can increase our brain volume, but heavy drinking can actually strain it. And how much is heavy drinking? Moderate risk, we are looking at 3 to 6 drinks a week. This is a week, not a day. Okay. And heavy is 7 or more drinks a day. So if, for example, if you drink 1 drink a day, so that is 7 drinks a week, that's already considered increasingly high risk for dementia. Okay, probably 1 or 2 drinks is still considered okay, considered low. But if you ask me, the more we read, we realize that the body actually has no tolerance for alcohol. Alcohol is just toxic for the body. The liver will have to work very hard to get rid of it. So if you can, cut down or try not to drink if you can. All right, so that's for alcohol. That's the fifth factors already that we can work on to control the risk for dementia. And then the sixth one, the Lancet actually mentioned that obesity is one as well. Okay, so how does this work? Obesity contributes to inflammation. Okay, vascular damage, insulin resistance, and all linked to cognitive decline. So what happens is that at obesity, we put on fats, right? Fats are not just fat cells doing nothing in our body. Fats is actually an endocrine organs as well. Fats actually can release a lot of inflammation factors or hormones that cause inflammation. Yes, Ali, 1 glass of red wine is a drink. Yes, 1 glass is considered one standard drink, or a can of beer, right? A can of beer, like 330 ml can of beer, is considered one drink. Yes. So 1 to 2 drinks a week is the max that you want to go. Anything more than that will increase the risk of dementia already. All right. Okay, let's come back to obesity. So we know that the fat cells can produce a lot of inflammatory factors causing inflammation in our body and vascular damage as well. More fats, more and more fats that we have, we are actually stressing our heart to work harder as well, right? Because the blood vessels have to go everywhere, and it can cause also insulin resistance. All this is linked to cognitive decline. So this is the good news. Okay, for those of you, if you are overweight, meaning your BMI is above 23, you just have to reduce your weight by 2 kg. Okay, so that's this research to show that just intentionally reduce by 2 kg, and over 6 months, the researcher has found an improvement in cognition, meaning just reduce your weight by a lot. In 2 months' time, it can help with your brain health already. Sounds good, right? 2 kg is pretty simple. And not just obesity, underweight can increase the risk of dementia as well. People who are BMI is below 18.5 is also of a higher risk compared to people within the healthy weight range, which is BMI 18.5 to 23, right? So if you're over and underweight, you might want to take a look. Why, Hui Kim? Are you under weight? Yes, yes, yes. You need to pump up. You need to build on muscle mass, right? Okay, so that's obesity. Okay, increased risk dementia for people who are also underweight, right? So don't be too happy if you're under, all right? Okay, let's move on. This one is really what I totally disapprove. 0, 0, 0. All right, smoking. Smoking is really putting on the various type of chemicals. This one you already know. I don't have to tell you, but a lot of very, ngang gang people, they know, but they still want to do it, right? Just just yesterday, a friend was telling me, my two sons, heavy smoker. They want to eat healthy, they but they are heavy smoker. I'm like, it's very tough, leh. When you want to eat healthy, when you buy your vegetables, you go for organic, and yet you're putting in like so much chemicals. Vape is even worse, Vape is putting real chemical, nothing else but chemical, right? But smoking is still organic, organic compounds. Okay, right? So try not to do that, and it will narrow the blood vessels. It hurts the heart and the brain, and increase the risk of cardiovascular disease, heart attack, stroke, diabetes, so many things, and stressing our brain as well, right? So try not to do that. Yes, joystick as well is also a kind of chemical smokes. Later we'll talk about pollution. Air pollution is also one of the factors. So smoking to you is just like, I have the rights, those people who smoke always have human rights, whatever. But we see many cases, the family members are actually affected. Their health are actually affected because of secondhand smoke. And yeah, and you affect your loved ones as well, which is not so fair, I think, right? And then this, right, is really, putting toxic directly to the brain. Okay, then the eighth one is depression. So depression is complicated. It might it might be the it might be the precursor to dementia, or it might be the cause of contributing factor of dementia as well. Because we know that depression actually we have a lot of stress hormones in the body, right? So the research actually say that depressive episode can lead to Alzheimer disease, and Alzheimer disease during when the person having this disease, right, can exhibit some depressive behavioral as well during and even at the late stage of dementia. So the relationship is pretty intertwined. It's pretty intertwined. But this is what I pick up from the reading, from the article after that 58 pages of very heavy reading. This is what I pick up. The findings on the effect of medication and therapy for dementia in reducing the risk of dementia suggest that the importance of treating depression both for quality of life and because it might reduce the risk of dementia in the future. So meaning if you know of someone has got depressive symptoms, having depression, might just want to treat the person, not just for the quality of life now, but it's also to reduce the risk of dementia in the future. Make sense? Okay, and that accounts for 3%. So if you can work on all this, right, 1%, 2%, 3%, we can greatly reduce the risk of dementia. Okay, so the good news here is still is controllable. These are controllable factors. So let's read on. Number 9, physical inactivity. Anything new? Every week when you see Jeannie talks about exercise, right? Yes, of course, sedentary lifestyle reduce the blood flow and reduce our brain health as well. So exercise is important. It increases the blood flow, it reduces hypertension, it increases the nitric oxide and nitric oxide enhance brain plasticity, meaning make our brains better connecting to each other, and reduce the neuroinflammation as well. Right? So physical activity accounts for 2% of dementia risk. So how much activity do you need to do? Good news for you. The reduction in risk was the greatest when you move from extremely sedentary, meaning you just sit down for the whole day, just to some physical activity. You see the greatest improvement already. Okay, so there's a lot of value there. Okay, if you haven't been exercising, just start with walking for 30 minutes after meal, right? Start with 10 minutes of slow jog. All this will help to give you a lot of help with your mental fitness, which is good, which is very good. Yes. Okay. And then, not surprising, diabetes. So poor blood sugar control will affect the vessel. You know that if the blood sugar is high, you know that our brain, okay, our heart is pumping the blood into every cells in our body, and our blood vessel, if we were to connect it all up, it can round the globe to 2.5 times. Okay, the earth, so it's so much blood vessel we have, and we only have one heart pumping, right? And when we have diabetes, the blood get clogged with a lot of sugar, it gets very sticky and it gets very, very difficult to move around, right? When the nutrients very difficult to move around the body, when waste is very difficult to be recycled back to, to get rid of from our system, a lot of issues can happen, right? And dementia, some research is actually calling it the type 3 diabetes. Okay, coming from diabetes. So there's a very strong link between diabetes and dementia as well. Okay, so this is what we want to take care of our metabolic health. Make sure that our blood sugar is good, under control. Okay, and then let's talk about air pollution. Pollution accounts for 3% of dementia risk. If you have attended Pehan's, webinar before on air quality, I think this is not surprising. For by air pollution, we are looking at the fine particles that can really go through our brain blood barrier to go into our brain and trigger inflammation in our body, specifically PM2.5 and PM10. These are the two things that is mentioned in the Lancet report. So small that it can travel through our blood vessels and create a lot of oxidative stress, create a lot of havoc in our body. And at the end of the day, it could cause dementia, memory loss, delusion, hallucination, etc. So, of course, air pollution comes from many sources. Outdoor, that's one, with the burning, burning and all that is one. Car, vehicle, that's another one. And at home, of course, we are concerned about air pollution at home as well. If you spend most of your time indoor, like what Pehan said just now, the burning of the joystick could be one. Cooking, heavy cooking, the sha cooking, we've got a lot of smoke and, mist coming up is one. New renovation, right? Really renovated house, you can always smell the pungent smell of the new furniture, the paint, all that can affect our health as well, right? And this accounts for 3% of dementia risk. Of course, it's of a very long-term effect. Okay, so it is unclear if there's any safe concentration of air pollution. Okay, while we can say that for drinking, 1 drink a week should be okay, but it's not clear whether any safe concentration or not. How low do you need to go? But every 1 microgram, okay, per meter square increase in PM2.5 is associated with increased dementia risk. So again, you want to keep the environment that you are in as clean as possible, the air as clean as possible, okay, to reduce the risk of dementia, right? Okay, so that is air pollution. Number 12, we've got 3 more, is social isolation. That accounts for 5%, especially for the elderly. Because we see more, social isolation in the elderly. What is social isolation? It's the lack of meaningful social contact. What does that mean? It could mean living alone, so that the whole day you might not seen anyone, you might not have spoken to anyone. Single marital status, alone, having a small or weak support network. So this is what I usually ask, when I do a nutrition consultation. Do you feel lonely? When you need help, do you have a supportive network to help you? Could be family, could be friends, colleagues, whoever, right? Bereavement or grief, losing of spouse, friend, or even relatives, parents could cause social isolation. Retirement could be one. That's why a lot of people don't dare to retire, right? Rather continue to work so that, still socially active. Mental health condition, depression, anxiety, or even past traumatic experience, like for example, being bullied or being humiliated, so that it could young people or adult um not wanting to, right, not wanting to socialize with others, and infrequent social interaction. I think we really feel that during COVID-19 time, because we are all very much isolated, and we don't get to do all the activities together, and relationship problems such as family conflicts might affect that as well, and age really related changes, which is very real. If physically we are not active, you're not able to walk very long, not able to travel by yourself, inevitably we will have less social contact, right? So social contact is important. That's why in Singapore, there's a lot of active aging centers. Government is pumping in a lot of money to create a lot of activities for the elderly. As long as you are 55 and above, you'll be invited to many free activities. There are talks, there are painting class, um, cooking, exercise activities, talks, singing, mahjong, a lot of activities actually is built in the community to help the elderly so that they are not socially isolated. They still have friends, connected, right? And when we mean meaningful social contact, right, I think it's very important to know that this doesn't mean having 3,000 friends on Facebook or IG, right? These are not meaningful, in-depth social contact. In fact, a lot of strolling on social media, what I understand is that it could even build more social isolation. All right? I'm not able to. Okay, Constance, can you mute yourself? Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, let's move on. Okay. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. That's social isolation. So make sure they're surrounded with friends, a lot of people. New one. So in 2020, there were just 12 um, lifestyle changes that we could make. And now added two more. Lancet added two more actually. And what you can see from here, the two, Constance, I can't mute you for somehow. Can one of the co-hosts help me? I'm not able to mute her. Ah. Okay, good. Thank you, thank you. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on. Okay, sorry about that. So visual impairment that is not treated. So added two new ones here. One is actually, okay, sorry. One is actually visual impairment. So you can see from here, these are some example of social impairment. Sorry, visual impairment. This is normal vision. You see the two boys and the two balls, and cataract will actually blur out the whole vision. Myopia, of course, we know that it's very common, is 近视, right? Or macular degeneration is the more common one for the elderly, or glaucoma. These are some of the issues for social impairment. But social impairment, if we treat it, if we notice it early, is 90% treatable. It's very treatable. Even cataract, myopia, of course, you just need to wear glasses, 对不对? And all this, treat it early, because if we are visually impaired, our stimulation, our physical activity, and all this will go down as well, right? It will increase the risk of our brain atrophy as well, right? So visual impairment is new. The next new one is LDL. And suddenly they put it in, the Lancet put it in, and it's already 7%. So in 2020, they already mentioned this, but they don't have conclusive research to show that it's linked to dementia. So now the research is a lot clearer. LDL in midlife is linked to vascular damage, which in turn affect our blood vessel health, which in turn increase the dementia risk. So we know that low LDL is good, high HDL is good. It decreases the risk of dementia. But if we go to the opposite, a lot of people have this issue, very high LDL, low density lipoprotein, and low HDL, low high density lipoprotein. It increases the risk of dementia. Okay, so if you have a cholesterol issue, let's address that, because that would greatly increase your risk of dementia. Okay, so having said that, these are the 14 risks identified by the Lancet. So are there risks that they haven't identified or not? Yes, there are two more that is mentioned in the paper, but it's not conclusive. What is that? Number one is sleep. I think you suspected that as well, right? After hearing the 14A, never thought about sleep. Sleep might affect dementia as well, War. So yes, it's mentioned there, but there is not enough research to prove that there's a link between sleep and dementia. The second thing that the Lancet also mentioned, but don't have concrete, research to link to dementia, guess what is it? It's diet. It's diet or having sufficient vitamins, minerals, right? So you never know, in 2 to 3 years' time, you might have the new Lancet report to include in sleep as an important indicator, and good diet, which is might be including a multivite, right? Which is important for dementia prevention. So let's see. But right now, these are the 14 factors. So next stage, okay? Yes, we know all these 14 factors already, how to put into play, right? What playbook do we have? What toolkit do we have to address this? Okay, so what we want to do, we want to reduce diabetes, manage cholesterol and hypertension. We want to stop smoking, reduce obesity, reduce air pollution, prevent head injury, prevent or treat depression, increase physical activity, minimize alcohol intake, have higher education or continue learning, continue to have, cognitive activity, something that's challenging your mind all the time, prevent and address hearing loss, address vision loss, and increase social contact. So these are the 14 things that we can do, right? So in the next 5 minutes, let's see how we can do this together with LiCo. Okay, so in LiCo, we always believe EARN, you have to earn your health. So the same thing here, let's start with E, exercise. Most people don't have enough exercise. We are looking at just 150 minutes a week, which is about 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. So a lot of people ask me, Jeannie, how much do you exercise? My answer is always, I aim for 5 days a week. You don't need to do a lot more. Just 5 days a week, 30 minutes each is good enough. But if you think that you can't do 5 times, maybe you can only do 3 times a week. It's better than nothing, right? So for LiCo, we have 3 workouts every week on Monday, Friday, and Saturday. Monday night, Friday, and Saturday morning. You can join us physically, or you can also join us on Zoom, right? It's all free. We do weights workout to work on our muscle strength, and we do Tabata workout to work on our heart. All right. And all this increase your physical activity, reduce obesity, increase social interaction. If you come and exercise with us, I promise that I'll talk to you. Okay. Social interaction is there, and lower the risk of depression as well. Okay. Just by exercising together, you sure confirm lower your risk of depression. All right. And secondly, positive attitude. Okay. A, we means attitude, positive attitude. So keep learning. Every week we have our book club. So welcome to our book club. If you don't know where you are now, you're at LiCo Book Club, that we meet online every week to learn nutrition, diet, exercise, etc. That continue cognitive activities is important. Keep your brain engaged, keep learning new things, keep your brain challenged, right? Increase social interaction as well. Like, got people yamsing in the chat, okay? We can talk to each other, you can ask questions, and lower the risk of depression, of course, because you have a community doing this together with you. I think it's all important. If you like more interactions, come for our walk. We have walk, going to the nature to see the greeneries, to challenge your legs muscle once a month. Next month, next month we are going to the Marina Barrage. Okay, going to Marina Barrage so that you can also join us. And what else? We have a lot of other activities, even, skincare class, beauty, cooking, or just get together to have a good meal together. So if you want to continue, challenge your cognitive, challenge your brain, this is the next activity for you. Please screenshot this if you're in Singapore. This Saturday, we're having a full day Healthier Me coach training. This training is a free training, and we have our expert speakers, a beautiful doctor, okay, and Deputy Director from Southeast Asia Regulatory and Quality from Amway, sharing with us healthy weight management. Okay, this is a totally free sessions. Just with purchase of our Gut Morning, you can enroll yourself to this session on Saturday. So let's join us to come and learn together. Okay, so this is A, positive attitude, of course, rest. We also stress a lot on sleep. Our webinar, we also talk about sleep, although Lancet hasn't talked about it for dementia yet, but keep practicing. Aim for 7 hours of sleep every day. And of course, and nutrition. We are what we eat. I am very, very surprised that actually, but okay, surprised and not surprised. Like, it's difficult to draw a link with nutrition or diet with dementia, right? You have to do a very large scale study over many years about nutrition. Is very, very difficult because everybody eat different things every day, and reporting is never accurate, right? But we know that healthy eating plate can definitely help with lowering the risk of dementia because it reduces obesity, reduce diabetes, manage cholesterol, and minimize hypertension. So go for your natural food as much as you can. All the real things, a lot of vegetables, good quality protein, whole grains, all that. Put them into your diet, right? If you don't know where to start, if you want to start, you can always start with our Gut Morning. Okay, just replace your breakfast with Gut Morning. For those who have not started any nutritional regime, this itself in 3 to 6 months, you will definitely see the difference in your health, in terms of your body shape, in terms of your blood sugar, cholesterol, and hypertension. Okay, so this is what I do every morning for the past, I think must have been 5 years now. A lot of vegetables. I make a blend together with my breakfast. This is my breakfast for the past 5 years. Right? Helps to do all that. Okay, and for us, we use Neutralite, and we do have a multi-pathway approach to bring down obesity, to help with our metabolic health, which is so important. We use the skinny microbiome to produce more GLP-1 to help with fat metabolism and also to have fat burning effects as well. Okay, so for Neutralite, it is a 90-year-old company from US, and it's the #1 selling vitamins and dietary supplements brand, and the only one who grow, harvest, and process plants is in its own certified organic farm. We have 3 farms in US, in Mexico, and Brazil. And most of our products comes from our own farm or partner farms who are organic certified as well. Okay, so that's why we have a lot of confidence with our supplementations. If you'd like to know more, let us know. Put in a message to find out more about Nutrilite, or you can just read or watch more about Nutrilite, which is with the USDA organic certification, right? Okay, now we are not just saying that, just by doing all that, you're definitely good. We still have many things in our toolkit. We use blood report, so you can always show me your blood report if you want to improve, for example, your blood sugar, cholesterol, hypertension. We use the blood report to monitor the before and the after. We have an in-body analysis. For those of you who want to increase your physical activity, you can always keep track and know where you are going from here. For those who are concerned about blood sugar, we can do this together. This is the CGM, continuous glucose monitor. I managed to get from a vendor which is actually much, much cheaper than Libre. So that, just invest 2 weeks of your time, learn about how your food affect your blood sugar, especially if you have family history of blood sugar or diabetes. All right, so that's what you can do. And of course, we do our diet consultation as well, diet and nutrition planning, so that with all this in our toolkit, we can work together to reduce obesity, to reduce diabetes, manage cholesterol, and also hypertension. All right, and of course, these are the other things that we also need to do. Minimize alcohol intake. Remember, how many drinks a week you can do. Stop smoking, please, please, please. There's really nothing good in smoking. 0, all right? Please stop if you can. Reduce air pollution. Indoor pollution, you can reduce it using atmosphere, sky, or mini. We have a very good air filter system. If you'd like to know more, just let me know. Was just introducing one to a friend yesterday because he was complaining that the neighbor next door has a big dog and the smell can be very strong coming in from the door. And his mom is actually taking care of 2 kids, 2 babies, right? Like nanny taking care of 2 babies. So, in order to increase or improve the air quality, he decided to get an atmosphere mini to put in the living room to protect the health of the whole family. So that can be done. Prevent head injury. You go on a bicycle, inline skate, for example, take good care of your head. If you want to go, so you want to manage the risk of doing all the sports that you like versus the likelihood of injuring yourself, right? To me, at this point, there are certain sports that I will not want to try anymore because I know that the pleasure that I get from the sports might not worth the risk that I might be subject myself to. Okay, so you need to take that calculated risk to work on that and prevent hearing loss. Always take note of the volume. But if there are already hearing loss, please address it. It's very simple to just wear a hearing aid to help with the listening and the communication. And that will improve the whole quality of life and prevent dementia. And of course, visual as well, right? These are the things that we can address to lower the risk of dementia. All right, so it's a complicated situation here. So this is the table that I extracted from the paper. All these things that we do, what we want is to reduce our vascular damage, protecting our blood vessel, reduce dementia, neuropathology, reduce stress and inflammation, and also build stronger cognitive and brain reserve, right? So addressing all these risks as identified by the Lancet can potentially reduce dementia risk by 45%. Is it good or good? Good, right? 45% is a big number and it all adds up. So it doesn't matter if you have family history, if you're a woman like me, which of a higher risk compared to a man, life is so unfair, but there are still so many controllable factors that we can work on, right? To prevent the risk for dementia. So prevention is better than cure. I like to shout this out again. Prevention is better than cure. Why? Because there is no cure for dementia for now. Yes? Make sense? So let's work on all these lifestyle changes. Stay active, eat well, control all the numbers for, your weight, your cholesterol, your blood pressure, your blood sugar, right? So that we can really bring down the risk of our dementia risk. Right. Question. That's all that I have for you. Any question?
Jeannie,
Hi.
I want to ask you one question.
Yes.
Let's say
Mm.
a person, I mean, let's say for us, 60 plus,
Uh,
want to stay healthy, exercise, try to eat good, healthy food.
mhm.
But as years go by, we don't know how long we can live. As years go by,
Yes.
will dementia develop?
Uh,
Because this one normally I notice in the elderly is the more risky one.
yes. Yes.
So I want to know, is it it's very common as a
It is
person
very
age,
common. For 90 and above, we are looking at 1 in 3, 1 in 4. Yes.
no matter how healthy the person is, will tend to develop still. Is
Uh,
there any research to show that so far?
it is very difficult. So far, I have not read any
Not,
research show that, the person live a perfect life, no smoke, no drink, and exercise and
ah,
everything, and still
ah.
develop. I don't think there's a study that is like that. And it's
Oh,
pretty difficult to prove as well. And I think what we can do is that, like, number one, we don't know how long we're gonna live, right? And
yeah.
we also don't know, how our health can deteriorate. But I think we still want to have that belief that want to do the right things as much as we can, as long as we can, right?
Till the
And
end of the life lah. So don't know what happened already.
60 plus is young, huh? Okay, by today's standard, 60 plus is young, because average age in Singapore is 85, okay. So 60 plus is very young.
Yeah lah, I know it will prolong but what I'm just trying to say, does it affect mostly the person when they reach that old age already, even how healthy they are? They
Yes, yes. Age is not
cannot escape.
controllable factor.
Yeah.
Age is a non-controllable factor. As we
Mm,
age, the percentage will go up, the risk will go up for sure. Yes, that we know.
mm.
Yes,
Only prolong the life lah.
yes, yes.
But
But
the sleep one, I like what you say, the Lancet report, they haven't do really a research yet on sleep.
yes.
Because I noticed like for us,
Mm,
although we have at least maybe 7 hours, but we don't really go into deep sleep so long. So, sometimes with this
yes.
age, we tend to go to the toilet,
Yes.
time,
So
whatever lah. So a bit
it's not
disruptive.
it's not just the quantity, it's the quality as well. So if you have a device with you, if you have a watch, right, you might be able to see how much REM and deep sleep you have, right? So if you want to go to that extent, you can. But I think an easier way is just to make sure that you have enough time on the bed. You know that you're going to work out 1 time, 2 times, right? That might take up 20 minutes, 30 minutes of your time. So you want to have a longer time on bed, maybe 8 hours. You want to allocate 8 hours on bed so that it
Yeah,
gives you some leeway.
because I heard of some people, I mean, maybe around our age,
Mm,
sometimes they cannot sleep properly, you know, interrupted. I think this is can't help it lah, part of parcel when you reach this age. You cannot how to prevent. You have to
There
sometimes toss
are,
here and
of
there.
course, there are many ways to help you with your sleep. For example, have a standard sleeping and waking hours. When in the morning, go and get 30 minutes of sunlight, do some exercise, make sure that your room is very dark when you sleep, it's cool enough and all that. We can have a session on sleep. There are many things that we can do to
Yeah,
help with
yeah.
the sleep. Yeah, yes.
And just now you were saying about the anti what something the hyper depression that tablet
Yes, the
for
hypertensive.
ah
Yeah.
for
So
elderly to take
no, no. So what Lancet is saying is that compared to people, okay, so comparing, for example, two group of people with hypertension, right? Both of them has got a systolic reading of more than 130. One group is actually taking medication to treat the hypertension. The other group did not take medication. The group with medication has got a lower risk of dementia.
But in the long run, is it good for the elderly to take?
That is another thing already. Like that's not in
Oh,
this study. Like.
okay,
That's the thing,
understand.
because they link it to dementia, you see. So yeah.
I feel that even though how you want to avoid, of course,
Yeah.
there are many things you can avoid lah. You can make yourself physically and also mentally active. But
Yes.
I don't know, but when the time come, you also don't know what will happen. So whether you will develop, so very hard to see. You just only prolong the thing lah. What we
Same,
are trying to
we know
prolong.
that we all gonna die, but doesn't mean that we don't live to the fullest today, right?
Die, but don't suffer depression can the
Yes,
dementia.
I think the more we are afraid of losing our life, we are more afraid of losing our mind, isn't it? I think that is the more scary thing, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, so let's work on these 14, items, and let's try to prolong our health as much as we can. Yes.
You know the vitamin B, MB selling the B vitamin B, that one is B complex also, is it?
Yes, it's a
Does
complex.
it
It's got
also
all the
help?
whole range of B vitamins.
Does it helps also in dementia?
It definitely
No.
helps with the brain health. Yes, because we
Oh,
know that B vitamins is so important with our neurotransmitter, right?
mm. But that one,
Yeah.
if you don't take every day, can or not?
B vitamin is a water soluble vitamin lah,
Yeah, water
but you want
soluble.
it to work all the time, so you will need it like on a daily basis.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Brenda, can I take your question offline? If there's
Yeah,
no
can,
others, if they have any questions, if not, I'm afraid that I need to stop here because we have
can,
another
can,
session coming up. Yeah.
can,
So
can.
Brenda, we chat again on this.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Sorry. Thanks for the rest. Thank you very much. Any other question? If not, I'll see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeannie.